In today's video, you are going to get to see a beautiful DeLorean. Hello everybody and welcome to Classic Car ChitChat. My name is Kevin. I'm thrilled you're joining me today. Today I have the pleasure of introducing you to a gentleman. His name is Joe. Joe owns a car we've all wanted. It is a 1981 DeLorean, the DMC-12 to be exact. I did not realize, but they only produced this car for a couple of years between 81 and 83. He's had this car for about 4 years. It's been fully restored and it's more or less stock. And again, you look at this car and you think of another great Canadian, Michael J. Fox. So without further ado, let's hop in, let's go for a drive, and let's check out this beautiful DeLorean. Joe, before you turn her off, I love the doors. Honk, rev the engine for me.
Sure.
Okay, and honk the horn if it works. Okay, that's different. All right, turn her off. Joe, come on out.
Yes.
Tell me what you've got here.
I have brought you today a 1981 DMC-12 DeLorean. This is an 81.
81.
And they made it up to 83. With obviously minor little changes along its way of its life.
And how long have you had the car?
I have owned the car for about 4 years now. When we did the restoration and the build, I did it with a gentleman, a good friend of mine, Justin Sucridge, out of Wells Auto in Milton, Ontario.
Oh, okay. A little shout out to Justin.
Absolutely,
yeah. Please.
Yeah, he does remarkable work, and we sort of started doing the build on this, and it's where it's took it, I guess, to its place nowadays. So. It's,
now, is this all original, or are there some modifications that were made to the car? Do you know?
There are a few modifications made to this one. This particular car, it's actually the front suspension we did. So when the cars came to North America, obviously bumper laws at the time, the bumpers needed to be raised up. So the suspension was quite higher for the North American car in the factory setting. So what we did is when we started building this car, Justin talked to me and he said, "How do you like it?" And I said, "I'd like it to sit a little bit better." Okay. And so he said, "I have some coils and I have some bushings." And so we decided to go that way and started doing the change on it. And as we decided to do the change on it and stuff, I'm not sure how many people know, but this car shares the same chassis as the Lotus Esprit.
Really?
So if you get the handling down right,
yeah, it
handles like Lotus.
Oh my. Now the Lotus obviously sits lower as well though, correct?
It does. The Lotus is a lower car. That's the one thing I guess a lot of people maybe are unfamiliar with or don't really understand much about DeLorean, but even myself, when you get in this car and you sit in it, you are very low to the ground.
Okay. It's like a go-kart, isn't it?
Absolutely. I want to say exactly right. You hit the nail on that one, Kevin.
And we're going to try that in a moment, but this is extraordinary. You know, this is every kid's dream car.
It's been mine since I was 5. Of course, the movie plays a huge part in it.
Yeah.
And when I had the chance to jump on it, I did. And there was a lot of hurdles in the way, but you know what? It just proves, and I tell my kids out there too, and stuff like that, we can have dreams, and the dreams are attainable.
And where did you find the car, Joe?
So actually, going back, so like I said, in Milton, Ontario, there's a beautiful shop, Wells Auto, out there, and they specialize in the restoration and sales of DeLoreans. And
really?
It's a shop he opened up a while back, and I sort of contacted him. I was following his career, and then we started talking. We became good friends, and now it's just snowballed into this.
Oh my God. So Wells Auto just specializes in DeLorean?
That's correct, yes.
And just for the Canadian market or just North American even?
For the Canadian market, yes. Up at least mainly Ontario, but for most part Canadian market. If there was ever a problem, you know, God forbid, a collision or something with one of the cars, he's the go-to in Canada.
It's extraordinary. And the stainless steel body as well. Like,
It is
absolutely stunning. Wow. So what drives this? Like, you've got the rear engine. It's a pure rear engine car.
Yes, it is. It's a 2.8 V6 PRV, as we call it. So it's a Peugeot-Renault-Volvo motor.
No way.
Yes.
Okay.
And you know, when John DeLorean was trying to do something with the car, I guess in hindsight, and this was sort of an easy way for him to not have to do a lot of R&D on doing his own engine and stuff like that, because this engine was already pretty much, it could go from coast to coast, and you could, you know, pretty much put it into any car that you wanted to.
Yeah,
so
tried and tested. Basically.
Tried and tested.
Yeah.
Yes. Well said, Kevin. Yes. So.
Wow. It's a beautiful engine. Hey, what's this here? Is like a fuel tank of sorts?
So that is your reservoir for your radiator fluid.
Interesting.
Because it still has its rad and everything else, and you know, air conditioning stuff. So everything's still at the front. So the plumbing that has to go into running all those, you know, your heater cores, your radiators, and all that. There's a lot of plumbing going up to the front and coming right back to the rear.
Now, this doesn't have air conditioning, does it?
This one, yes, they do. They all had air
Really?
conditioning in them, which I want to say on some hot days is a very must, because it does get a little warm inside the cabin.
Definitely.
But then again, when you're driving a DeLorean, you're kind of living the dream. So.
Now, I noticed when you open up the tail there's actually two covers. There's the outer one, and then there's a sort of an inner one.
Yep.
So what is the inner one? If it's just down, what does that look like compared to...
So the inner one,
right. Okay.
It just sort of sits like that, and then you have your louver, which sort of goes over, you know, I guess it's that kind of 80s styling too, where, you know, they used to have it on the Trans Ams and some of the Camaros and stuff, right?
Yeah, I love it.
But it definitely gives it a different look if you actually have like the louver up, because a lot of people start looking at it and they say, wow, that it starts to look like a lot like a Lotus Esprit now.
You know, you're so right there, because there are certain elements of this, and it reminds me of one of the Bond movies, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Absolutely.
Where he drives it from the sea onto the shore or something like that. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Absolutely stunning.
We try our best, you know, at home to try to keep it in running condition and as clean as we can, and we still love to drive it. 18,000 original miles are on this car.
Really?
Yes.
And so originally it came from the US, did it? Or
so originally it was the car. It's funny because the story goes along. It was made in Dunmurry in Ireland. So we could say Dunmurry was the town, is Belfast. And, you know, we always say, you know, the DeLorean was made for the North American market, funded by the British, and built by the Irish.
So well said.
So well said.
It's true, though, isn't it?
It is for a North American market, right?
Wow. Now the rims are the stock rims. This is how the car would have come?
This is how the car would have come from factory, and we did actually have the rims redone. I recently had them done probably about almost 2 years ago, and that was just involving a powder coating. And yeah, we just had them take it down to the bare material, and then they just repowder coated it for us.
They've done a great job, though.
Oh, fabulous, fabulous.
Absolutely beautiful.
I can't say enough of how well they came out.
So then how much space is there in the front of this car then?
Well, they have a little bit of space. There's a little bit of trunk space, and I could open it up and show you.
Yeah, I would love to see it. Man, there's something about stainless steel, though.
Oh, it is.
Oh, it's just gorgeous.
And when
I
the
love
light
the way
hits
the
it,
light catches it.
it's amazing. You
know what?
You have to excuse some of my.
No, but that's not a bad amount of space. It's
not.
Shallower than I thought, but that's not too bad. What goes in there?
So actually, this is your fuel filler.
No way.
It's because your gas tank sits kind of around this area in the car. and it obviously conventionally for a road, it's still under this under the carpet. It still has a spare tire in there.
Wow. And is that the windshield washer there in the white?
That is, yeah, it's the windshield washer.
That's incredible. And what is this here? Was that the sort of the signage from the original?
Oh, so that actually is when we did Motorama. Actually, that's my friend Justin Sukeridge's shop. That's actually a brochure he puts out, and actually I had the chance there to actually present it at Motorama.
Oh,
and so when people were coming by, I just wanted to, if they had any questions or something like that, I could sort of refer them to Justin for sure.
Yeah, people are going to ask you for autographs soon, Joe, so just be careful. Wow, what an absolute joy, though. You must get a lot of thumbs up when you drive.
You do, and you can see it on people's faces, even oncoming traffic. You know, sometimes you get it and you see both hands come off the wheel.
I know,
and two
right?
thumbs up, or there's hands out the window, and it's lovely to see the appreciation. I mean, I guess the biggest thing is that we've run into as DeLorean owners is you really got to watch all your corners, because some people just get super excited when they see the car, and I understand it. I'm a huge lover of the car, but they get super excited that, you know, they're fumbling for their phone and they could possibly lose control of the car now.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah,
You've got to be so careful. You know, I always, it's the old adage. You know, when you have a classic car of any kind, you ride it like a motorcycle.
Okay.
Got to be careful of everybody else, because you just never know.
You never know. You're so totally right.
Now, the height is quite impressively low to begin with. That is something else.
It is actually. Funny enough, knowledge that came my way after owning one, in DeLorean's actually insight and spec of the car. So the roof line from the ground to the very top of the roof area, right about, I guess we could say here,
right,
is actually 48.9 inches.
Interesting.
And I've actually measured it in my
garage.
You have,
okay.
And to say, you know, I couldn't believe it, because I still walk in my garage to this day, and, you know, if the car cover's off it, I still can't believe it's sitting in there.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It overwhelms me that I'm an owner, and you know, that little boy inside of me comes out constantly.
Yeah, you become a kid again, right?
Yeah.
So true. Now, these have a purpose, do they, for ventilation?
So they're just there for kind of like a show.
Okay.
I guess they decided to try to put something in a split in the quarter panel, and
just
that's
to break
just what
up
they
the
just to break
metal,
it up a little bit, right? I mean, there was other models that were made that came with some black pinstriping down the side of the car as well.
Okay.
And these were subtle options that, you know, DeLorean and John DeLorean tried to put in to try to boost, I think, the sales of the car at the time.
That's extraordinary. Now, I have to ask you this, Joe, but can you kind of close the door and open it again?
Very interesting. There's actually a lot of history in the mechanism itself, but and also unique of where they put the door handle.
Yeah.
But
like you do it effortlessly almost. Like
it's
well balanced from the looks of it.
Very well balanced of what they did. And actually these doors range, you're probably about 150 pounds per door. And a lot of it is taken on, a lot of people think it's all gas driven, but exactly what you're seeing there, that's a torsion bar there, Kevin, and that torsion bar is doing all that work of lifting the door and everything. And
it's a glorified garage door, isn't it? When you think about it, the mechanics behind it. But
I never thought of it that way, but you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Such a beautiful machine. Absolutely stunning. I don't know, Joe. I don't know what to say. Like, this is one of those cars that just make you go, isn't it lovely?
It is. It's beautiful, and I still, you know, can't believe that I'm an owner, and it's so exciting for myself to do it. And I even pass it on to my children. You know, if they're sitting around the house and they're not doing much, I'll say, who wants to go for ice cream or something like that?
Yeah, any excuse to go for a drive,
to my son or something, or my daughter at home, and yeah, any excuse, absolutely, you could go. And I don't need much. You know, I need to be like twisting my arm to say, hey, you know, does it need gas? Let's go to the gas station.
Exactly. Yes. Oh my gosh. Beautiful. So you've got two kids from the sound of it. How old are they now?
So I have a 14-year-old son at home, and I have a 5-year-old daughter.
Okay, and who are you going to give the car to? For the record.
For the record, we'll see. I mean, my daughter, I'd like to leave it to her, and you know, whatever she wants to do with the car after, that'd be her choice. But we'll just have to see, I guess, how things go.
Of course, and that's really an unfair question anyway. But that's okay. I'll take the responsibility for that one. But she's absolutely beautiful. Even the tail lights on this thing, like it just. I don't know. You look at these lights and it's unmistakable for DeLorean though.
Oh, it is. And I think it was Nike a few years ago back, and I'm saying a few years ago, it could be 10 years now actually. I believe they did a shoe that was similar color of the DeLorean themselves, but the bottom of the sole of the shoe was the taillight.
Really?
Yeah. It looked identical.
Priceless.
And they were flying off the shelf.
And the only badging really is this, isn't it?
That's correct, yes, actually. Some of the cars came, obviously at the front, on the front clip, you do have the DMC logo, DeLorean Motor Company. And some of them came with a small badge in the right bottom corner of the front bonnet, I guess we could call it, or the hood. And it would say DeLorean there, but of course everything is time period correct.
Yeah.
The same with this car. A lot of the paint, so this is a paint work done that DeLorean did, and it depends on the year and your VIN number of when it came out. So mine was finished in a matte clear coat here,
right?
But some of them actually came in a very heavy, thick, very clear coat where it had a lot more shine, and some of the grays might have been a little bit different. So it was all about production of when the production happened. Now this VIN number is 3317. All the DeLorean owners of Canada and across the world, we always go by our VIN number. So yeah, 3317 is a survivor, and we followed it all the way around that it was an original 5-speed gray interior car as the factory meant it to be and manufactured it.
So how many are there in Canada, do you know, roughly?
I like to go with the group number, and we roughly say 200-ish.
That's it, hey?
But that's, again, the ones that we know of, right?
Yes.
The ones we don't know of are like, hidden away in barns, if they are, or, did somebody ever disassemble it and reassemble it in their basement kind of thing? We just don't know, right? But there's always new ones that constantly pop up that are out there.
And do we know as to how many actually made it across to Canada in the first place?
That one we don't. I don't want to give too much knowledge away. I do know 3 were sent up here for cold weather testing, believe it or not.
Really? Probably Thunder Bay, Timmins, that sort of thing?
There you go, exactly, around that area, and they were set up for cold weather testing. And I do know they were actually what they call, from DeLorean Motor Company, they were actually called metric cars because the odometer was in kilometers, where this one's in miles. And actually, a friend of mine does have quite a bit of knowledge and has worked on those 3 cold weather testing cars and has actually restored them to bring them back to life.
It's an absolutely stunning car, Joe. There is just something magical about this. And when you told me you had a DeLorean, of course I wanted to meet you and make a video, whatever it took.
And I'm so glad, because after we did Motorama and then I caught one of your videos and I was like, I think we need to get in touch with Kevin.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Now the side mirrors, again, this is stock. This is the way it was designed out of the factory?
This was the way it was designed out of factory. Obviously the prototype had a bit of a different style, and they had a bit of a different styling for the window. They had a slide window, and originally the demo car was kind of like a mid-engine car. That was what they were trying to go for. But then when Lotus got involved with the car, some things changed, you know what I mean? So, but there's a lot of things that are on this car that I try to tell people and educate them a little bit that, it's 4-wheel discs, it's got coilovers in the rear from the factory from 1981. I mean, these are things nowadays that people are trying to convert on their new bought cars.
They were ahead of the time.
That's what it was designed for, a car ahead of its time, yeah.
And it's interesting too, like this was one of the first few cars that actually got into the stainless steel body designs. You'd think more would follow suit.
You'd think.
Nobody seemed to do it. Like,
no.
This is it. This is the only famous one we know of in a way.
You're right. Absolutely it is. And that's what John designed the car for. It was the reason with the stainless steel skins and also doing the fiberglass tub, which is what we call what it is. So these body panels are actually even screwed or glued to some sections of the subcomponent portion, which is just this fiberglass tub, which is all here, and it runs all through the whole car, and then it's sort of placed on the chassis itself. So, and again, that had to do with Lotus. Once Lotus got involved with that and the pedigree of the racing and the lightness, and they knew a lot about fiberglass, and so that's the way they ran with this car.
That's extraordinary. And the finish as well, like the way it's fitted and finished in place, like it looks great.
I appreciate it. Actually, we just did this, I think it was about 2 years ago, we did the bodywork on this car, only because we had a gentleman come down from the UK. His name's Chris Nichols. He is one of the best persons to deal with on stainless steel repair and anything else, and I showed him some stuff on my car before he quoted it, and you know, I didn't like the alignment of the fenders and the fascia and stuff, and I left it with him. I think he's got somewhere in the neighborhood of 14 to 16 hours into this body.
Wow.
And he actually did the regraining process of this car. So I know as you go through it there, Kevin, with the camera probably, but that's how you get that kind of finish in there, that graining, if you can see the lines and stuff, and that's the process they call that. It's a regraining. So when I had the chance to have him do it, I said absolutely, please do it.
And it's not like you can sit down with a piece of wire wool in your hand and do it yourself, right? This is an art. Like,
it is a huge art.
Chris definitely knows his stuff, and this is something again where you just don't want anybody touching it if they don't know what they're doing. My goodness.
I mean, fingerprints are a side of one thing, but you're right. You know, dings and dents is another thing. That's where you can run into huge problems, right? And
no, I guess in theory though, Joe, like if you do get, I don't know, rash from just driving on the highway, you could probably polish it out relatively easily.
You could, yes, actually, yeah.
Although again, I'd hate to fiddle with it, but unless you know really what you're doing. Oh, it's just beautiful, Joe. Just beautiful.
Thank you.
And there's no spot for a front license plate either.
So on this one, no. When we actually were building the car and we went back to, you know, getting the fascias and stuff, the right appropriate color of the VIN number of the time and stuff like that, we went back and this one never had the bumper drilled for the plate. I do have a copy of the plate that sometimes I'll put in my passenger sun visor and stuff, but for the most part, I try to leave it clean.
Yeah, I agree. Like some cars, it just doesn't suit it. And if you're in California, right, actually anywhere in the States or even other provinces, you don't need it. So it's just Ontario.
You're so right on that.
My. Just an absolute joy. Can I take a look inside, Joe?
Absolutely, yeah. Did you want me to open up both doors?
Yeah, let's do that. I just love the mechanics of these things. Oh my gosh. And a true two-seater, plus you got space in the back for stuff too.
Yeah, you do. You got a little cargo net back there.
This is the original radio as well, Joe?
So that radio, actually, funny enough you mention it, it's a time period correct to something that would have been in there, but it's not actually a DeLorean Motor Company radio.
Okay.
That's actually a Clarion deck. Funny story about that is when we did the build on this car, the faceplate on this was original to the car. And most of them you run into where they get hacked up because people wanted to put a modern day stereo in it. Yeah. This one was untouched. So when we started the build, my friend of mine that was helping me, he sort of said, let's see if we can find a stereo. And I said, okay. And I started looking online, and believe it or not, tape decks went up in price very, very, very much. And,
I know.
I actually had a mechanic at work that I was working with, and he actually came to me and said, I think I got one at home.
Really?
And a few months passed, and then he showed up at the shop and he said, Joe, I got something for you. And he gave it to me, and I said, wow. And he said, yeah, please just take it, put it to a good home. And I hooked it up to a car battery, and I checked all the channels. All the lights worked, all the channels worked. So I brought it over to my friend Justin, and we ended up putting it in.
And it's a cassette deck to go with it as well. That's just priceless.
And actually working one too. I've tested
beautiful. It. Beautiful. So standard 5-speed out of the factory, hey Joe?
That's correct, yeah.
Even the steering wheel is a little bit unique and different, isn't it?
It is definitely unique. I mean, there are some parts in the car that, you know, people that are more, I want to say, you know, Volkswagen based, Renault, possibly Volvo and stuff. You'll see little things that might give it away where they stolen the part from, you know, Volvo and tried to make it adapt it to the car. But there were some parts they did have to make.
Now, did they ever make an automatic version of this, Joe? It was always standard 5-speed.
No, absolutely. They did make an automatic version. It was a 3-speed automatic, and they actually had 2 interior colors. This one, obviously you could see, was the gray, and they actually had a black leather one as well.
And I see even you've got the original floor mats to go with it as well.
That's correct, sir.
Oh, amazing. And I love the positioning of the the handbrake as well.
It is a bit of you know, getting in and out. It doesn't really bother you too much, but it is in a unique position. But I believe it's not the first car that I've seen that happen in that position as well.
Yeah, no, true. It's a very European thing in some cases.
That's correct.
But
You're
hey,
right.
just like most European cars, no cup holders either, Joe. So where do you put your timmies?
I finish it before I go on the drive.
Yes, that's the idea, I think. Cars are meant to be driven. Forget your coffee, that can wait.
Well said.
Now, it's so tempting to get a fancy license plate on this car, isn't it?
It is, and you know, I've thought about it myself, and there's a lot of people in the DeLorean Owners of Canada. They've got unique ones, and some referring to the movie and stuff like that, and I've actually thought of it. I was going to try to get one for myself, but I think, you know, Joe's DMC kind of is a little too much, and I even thought of, you know, for my daughter's sake, I thought of, her name is Taylor,
right.
And I thought of putting like Taylor D for Taylor Donick,
Okay.
but I still haven't come up with it. But so that's why I've just left it as the, you know, the factory Ontario one they've given me, and if something comes my way and it sticks in my mind, maybe we'll do it.
Of course. Now, do you ever get tempted to put all the paraphernalia to convert it back to sort of a Back to the Future version of this?
You know, I guess there is at times. There's a temptation of it, but to be honest with you, Kevin, it's something about that drew me to this car, especially at a young boy, and it's something to do with the styling. I always tell people, I said, this car looks like it's just, when it's sitting here, it looks like it's going 100 miles an hour.
So true.
And it's just such a, you know, a sexy, sleek body that's on it.
Yeah.
I think that's what's drawn me to it as a kid and a child and stuff. And there's so many lines on it. I'd hate to ruin it by putting anything else on it.
No, you're dead right. And there's something about the straightness and the angularity of the car. Like, it's got a different look about it. It's unmistakable as a DeLorean. Like, you'd have a tough time saying, oh, this could be this could be that. Unlike modern day SUVs or CUVs, they all look the same, but this
is true.
Oh,
You're right
wow,
on
just
that.
stands out. You are the envy of so many people, honestly.
I just get to live the dream for a short while, and while we're here, I'm going to live it and try to experience it the best. And that was John DeLorean's actually slogan of selling the car: "Live the dream."
Oh, and so well said. You know what? That is so true. Because if anything, like, we've learned a lot from COVID, and that is sort of value the moments we have. And
that's it.
My, oh my, cars like this, they are a gift to mankind. And you're lucky, and you know you are, to have something so beautiful. So.
I am very lucky. I am very fortunate.
Oh my.
I am
so
blessed.
We chatted a lot. Shall we go for a little drive?
Absolutely, sir.
What's it like to get into this? Oh, it's not so bad. But it is low.
It is low.
Oh my, is it ever low?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's not a bad low. Like, it's a different low.
Yep.
Okay, let me try this. How hard is it to actually bring it down?
So you have to bring the door down, and there's a bit of a trick I want to say too.
Oh my God!
It's kind of tough.
It is tough.
Which you know, over here, yeah. I normally bring it down, and then it's tough because I do know you have the camera. You use this arm to try to pull the door down.
Let me try this. No, it's not going to do it. Hang on, I'm gonna give you the camera for a minute.
Absolutely.
You do it. You be the camera person. There
Perfect.
we go. All right. Very cool. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
You know, we say it's a low car, but there's enough headroom here, though, isn't it? Especially with the way this is indented.
With the indentation, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, and I see you got a magazine back there. There's Michael J. Fox, our hero.
It's for normally there's a show I like to do every year. It's called Oblivion, and it's just about 80s and 90s culture.
All right.
And that's why normally when I go, I actually break out the boombox. I have the Back to the Future magazine. Right. I have some cassettes. I do a whole little layout for the show, and so does a lot of the other owners and stuff like that as well. So.
Yeah, but they don't have a DeLorean like you do. Okay, we are going to turn left here.
Sure.
But you know what, Joe? Visibility is not that bad.
It's not. It's
right?
not. It's more of it being more of a flat-ish car for everybody else, and them not maybe seeing it when you're on the road. But
yes, again, you're right. It's the others we'd have to look out for. But
absolutely,
for the most part, it's pretty good. And we'll turn right here.
Sure.
Now you do feel the road, don't you?
You do feel the road.
It does have a hard suspension, but that's okay. And it's so quiet in here.
It is quiet, yeah. Normally I drive with a little bit and I try to put the vent on, but because we have the microphones on and stuff.
Yeah, that is surprisingly quiet. For a rear engine car, mind you, we haven't accelerated yet, but in theory, it's still a lot quieter than I would have expected, even when it's...
it is pretty quiet, yeah, no, you're right, Kevin.
Look at the dials too, that's old school right there. Beautiful. Oh, she's lovely, Joe.
Thank you.
Absolutely lovely. What a thrill. You must just love taking her out any opportunity you can.
Every chance I can,
I
yes.
bet. And even the rear view mirror. Like, very 80s look about it. It's just so nice. Now, we say it's a hard ride, but it does handle the bumps well.
It does. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
No, it's not too bad.
No, it's not bad at all. And the seats are very comfortable, as is the actual sitting position.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
you're kind of relaxed, your back, and it's
Absolutely.
quite nice.
It's a nice cruising car.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So, Joe, I got to ask you, what was the very first car you ever bought?
The very first car I ever bought, ever owned, it was a 1978 Malibu, Chevy Malibu.
Really?
Two-door, yes.
What color was that?
That was actually a two-tone. It was a brown and a bit of a gold.
No way.
Actually, yeah.
Beautiful car, though. That had a look about it. That had presence, though, the Malibus.
They did, and there was a whole bunch, the G-bodies of that time, and the
Yeah.
Grand Nationals, and there was so much look of them, right?
I can return. So the reverse is far left here.
Far, yeah. Which I want to say is more like the European,
Yeah.
right?
And that's something you got to get used to, because my son has a Miata.
Okay.
And again, 5-speed, beautiful, fun car to drive around. But again, I got to remind myself as to where the heck where's the reverse again on this thing? It's a very smooth engine and gearbox, isn't it?
Yes, it is actually. And after owning it and realizing that, I was like, it's definitely set up for a cruising car.
Yeah.
Like I said, I enjoy taking it on the back roads, and with the handling that's been done with it and everything, it's just a beautiful, beautiful country driver. It's actually, it's what it was designed for.
Now, it's got no cruise control or any other features like that, but does it?
No, it does not, unfortunately, no.
So, Joe, at what point did you kind of think, watching the movies, obviously, growing up, watching Michael J. Fox do his thing, thinking, one of these days I'm going to get a DeLorean? Do you have like this moment in your life where you kind of remember that, you know what, this is the moment that I realized that I wanted to get one of these desperately?
I thought it must have been a time of me after seeing the movie, but I do remember telling my father, and I said, Dad, one of these days, I don't know, but I'm going to own one of these cars. And of course, you know, being a child of the 80s, everybody has their own pieces to put in, and you know, they would always come up and say, wow, did you know how bad the car was, or it was underpound, or you know, the things that John DeLorean did.
Designed,
yeah, exactly,
or this was wrong,
right?
but that's wrong.
You know, not to mention, did you know that you know, the stuff and the law troubles that John DeLorean got in, and it's all that just
it's
washes
all the
away.
Negative stuff.
Yeah,
Who cares?
it just washes all the way, because at the end of the day, it's sort of you can't beat the styling of what it is, I want to say, anymore,
For sure,
right?
For sure. And not just that, but I mean, it's like with any car like that, from that vintage as well. Like, I think about the Fiero.
Yes.
As an example, people criticize that like you wouldn't believe. I think it's just the loveliest car. It really is so cool.
Oh, it is. The Fiero was, right?
And you know what, Joe? Getting in and out of this thing,
It's not too bad.
not so bad at all. Ah, Joe, what do I say? Like, you know this already. Like, this is just gorgeous. You know what I am going to ask you to do? Just for me,
Sure.
can you turn on the lights and also the indicator lights? And I just want to see what it looks like from the,
Absolutely, yeah,
from the
we
front
can
and
do
the
that.
back too.
Oh,
Okay, let me check out the rear. No daytime running lights or any of those things, right?
no, there's not.
Yeah. Or a third brake light?
Nope, no
Yeah,
third brake
okay.
light. Nope.
Oh, right on. Yeah. Very cool. Beautiful.
Enjoy driving it too, as much
Oh,
as I
and
could.
this is where the actual VIN plate is.
That's
right
correct.
There. Okay.
Of the data manufacturing and VIN number, and even a
there
whole
it
bunch
is,
of notes
August.
and points on the manufacturing of DeLorean Motor Company.
Wonderful. My oh my, Joe. And the original leather interior. This is it. It hasn't been redone yet.
No, it hasn't been redone. The seats, that's an original passenger seat that came with this VIN number. Now, the only difference is with this car is that the skin of the driver's seat is time period correct. It was out of another 81 with the same gray interior, because the grays did change along the way on the assembly line and stuff. And that was the only thing. It's cushions, frame, everything is still original to the car except for the driver's skin, because it was quite beat up. Actually, this car has a unique history. Actually, it was in Utah for a little bit on top of a shipping container at an independent amusement park. And we're just lucky that nobody screwed or glued any of the panels to the car, because they kind of dressed it up to try to be a movie car. And I guess that's what drawed people into the amusement park in Utah.
Right.
So when I first took possession of the car, the steering wheel and the seat were quite beat up,
Interesting.
which tells me a lot of people were jumping in and out of the
sure.
car.
But thankfully they didn't bolt anything onto it or do
Oh.
something silly like that.
Thank goodness, right? Because these
Yeah.
are all the original panels that came with the car.
Wow. And I love stainless steel. Man, oh man.
It does have a little place in, I think, everybody's heart,
Oh,
right?
definitely. And I noticed too that your front dash, you've got the cover. That again is factory option.
So it wasn't a factory option. I guess it's something I could have talked to you about. I could have removed it. I actually leave it on there only because the dash and the binnacle of the car itself, which the binnacle on this car was actually redone a little bit.
I've never heard that word in my life. Binnacle. What the hell is that? Is that what it's
That's
actually
they call that the binnacle.
Well, there you go. I just learned something.
It was redone by DMC Florida,
Okay.
actually, and so because of that, I sort of keep this cover on, which is a custom cover that you can buy them for the cars, but I do it because of the UV rays and the sun. So when I'm out
Definitely.
driving and doing all that, you know how it can beat
It's
up
going
on
to
the
be a
dashboard.
greenhouse in there otherwise, for sure.
Absolutely, right?
But you know what? I was so impressed. Like, even while you're driving around, visibility in the car is incredible. From behind, side windows, like this entire sheet of glass is just lovely. Oh my gosh.
It is beautiful.
What an absolute joy. Joe, you don't know how happy you've made me today, honestly.
Well, you know what? You've actually inspired me, and that was the great thing of actually coming to do it with you, Kevin. Is I was so happy, and you're very gracious, and you're very lovely person to work with.
Oh,
so.
thank you so much. And I'll give you the $5 afterwards for saying those things. Okay, Joe. I know you came to see me, but really this is a gift for me because this is my dream car, one of many that I have. This is absolutely beautiful. And I really want to thank you.
Well, thank you so
coming
much.
all the way from sunny Stratford, the home of Justin Bieber, if I may say, another great Canadian.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
honoring Michael J. Fox and this lovely, lovely DeLorean.
Well, if I could share the car with anybody and everybody, it's what I'd like to do. Share it with anybody.
Oh, you're so gracious about it. Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you, Kevin.